July 12, 1872, Reading Eagle, Reading, Pennsylvania. A Paris letter writer says, "We have a society of blood drinkers here, not the wildest wretches of the commune, but quiet, order-loving citizens. The abattoir of Paris is situated at La Villette. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the slaughtering of the animals commences. It is at this moment invalids suffering from impoverished blood or consumption answer the ringing of a bell, step into a room where they are served with a glassful of the lifeblood of sheep and oxen, hot and even steaming. It is said excellent results have followed this strange cure. There is also fitted up in this place a bath-room where persons, children especially, suffering from weak limbs or general debility, can take a dip in the water in which the tripe has been boiled for the market. This latter mode of treatment I have witnessed." June 30, 1877, the Bayonne Herald, Bayonne, New Jersey. Blood drinkers. A St. Louis specific for consumptive and dyspeptic invalids. How it works. The efficacy of blood drinking for consumptive, nervous, and dyspeptic invalids is being freshly heralded to the public by a St. Louis paper. A visit to the suburb of Butchertown revealed to the reporter that during the year a considerable number of persons, mainly consumptives, frequent the shambles to partake of this remedy, and several prominent physicians of the city certify their belief in its beneficial effects. At one time, 5 or 6 patients were taking this strange medicine at one of the larger slaughterhouses, and it is said that after the first nausea and aversion were overcome, their desire for the nourishment became intense. But the initiation is very hard, the scent to a nervous person being a shocking one, which has to be repeated quite often ere it becomes familiar. The oxen are dragged in by a windlass, knocked in the head, and then stuck. As the current of life floods from the gash, the cups or vessels are held to receive it, and it is drank instantly with all the warmth of healthy vital action upon it. In this way alone it renders good, and, as may be readily imagined, it requires some exercise of nerves to indulge in the operation. The taste for blood, when once acquired, however, does entirely away with the nausea which attends its first use. It is sweet in taste, resembling fresh milk, and the patient desires it quite as much as a strong, healthy person would a good meal when hungry. It is far from being unpalatable, and a moderate fondness for it is acquired in a comparatively short time. One physician finds that it is not necessary to subject his patients to the repulsive surroundings of the slaughterhouse, but place the freshly drawn blood in a steamed warm bottle, and then in a can filled with hot water, conveying it quickly as possible to the drinker. He has effected a number of cures by this means, and is of the opinion that where consumption is treated in this manner, its progress can be arrested unless the disease has made most serious inroads upon the lungs. It has also been found most efficacious in cases of wasting of nervous fiber, atrophy, and marasmus. Another class of patients gain strength from inhalation and absorption of the particular particles which abound in the atmosphere of the slaughterhouse. The peculiar and impalpable process is undoubtedly the means by which butchers acquire such exceptional health and wonderful strength. These patients merely sit in the apartment for an hour or two at a time in the morning and afternoon. January 28, 1890, the Meriden Daily Journal, Meriden, Connecticut. The Blood Drinkers. Healthy folks bleed in order to cure those that are sick. Kansas City, January 28. For some time, rumors of the existence of a new religious sect, which has gained a foothold in the territory adjacent to the Blue River, just east of Kansas City, have been afloat, and they have reached the ears of the police. The Secretary of the Humane Society recently received a letter from a man living in that neighborhood, telling him that if the authorities did not interfere, the people would take the matter into their own hands. According to the reports, the practices of the sect were founded upon the biblical injunction to do good to the sick, but this injunction had been carried to such an extent that the sect had degenerated into a band of bloodsuckers, those who were well allowing themselves to be bled for those who were ill. Officer Marin's investigation of the matter proved that the letter to Secretary Hackett had not told half of the horrible practices in vogue among the people who believed in the savage rites. The Band of Samaritans is composed of about 20 members, who hold regular weekly meetings at the houses of the different members. At these meetings, the sick or ailing ask for assistance from the well, and they are detailed to give their blood according to their health and strength. When a member becomes very sick, the well ones take turns in supplying him with the life-giving fluid. They claim that they have a right to do this when the blood is a voluntary contribution, the same as physicians have the right to transfuse blood from one person to another. January 2, 1896, the Quebec Daily Mercury, Quebec, Canada. Blood drinkers. Strange sights to be seen at New York slaughterhouses. Consumptives made well by imbibing the blood of a newly killed bullock. Paralysis cured by wrapping a man in portions of a slaughtered animal. A strange shrine at which pilgrims in search of health gather strength daily is a shrine of blood. Every morning, except on Sunday, between the hours of 9 and 11, a troop of men and women can be seen making their way to the slaughterhouse of the United Dress Beef Company on 1st Avenue and 44th Street. Their purpose is to drink the hot blood as it surges from the freshly killed bullocks. Among the company are sickly-looking men and delicate women upon whose faces the stamp of consumption is plainly marked. There is little about them to suggest the idea of bloodthirstiness, and yet no heart ever pined more fervently after the water brook, or no drunkard longed more for his cups than these blood drinkers for their daily potations. To a person in perfect health, who has never tasted the hot blood of a bullock, the very thought of drinking it is revolting. "I would rather die than drink that blood," I said to a young woman who was drinking from a cup the warm fluid freshly taken from the throat of a slaughtered steer. "Life is sweet," was the reply, "and you would do anything to preserve it. When I came here first, I fainted at the sight of the blood, but now I like it, and I bless it, because it is making me well and strong. I was given up to die of consumption by my physician and all of my friends, but I was determined to get well. I had heard of several people being cured by drinking bullock's blood, and I began drinking it 6 months ago. I was at that time like a living skeleton with my face as white as that of a ghost. I now weigh 50 pounds more than when I began this blood drinking, and do I look like a consumptive?" She certainly did not. On the contrary, the girl showed every indication of perfect health. Inquiry proved that hers was but one case in hundreds where invalids have been cured of lung and throat troubles by the daily drinking of bullock's blood. All those I saw on the morning I visited the slaughterhouse were enthusiastic over the wonderful life-giving qualities of the blood medicine. Dr. J. H. Forster, the physician appointed by the government to inspect the cattle of the United Dressed Beef Company, although not an advocate of blood drinking, cited many instances of which paralysis had been cured by wrapping the body in the paunch of a steer. This is one story as it was told to me. A young man who had been for many years a helpless paralytic was brought here one day by his father, who requested the privilege of wrapping the body of his son in the rumen, which is the first of the 4 stomachs of the ox. This request was granted, and every day this process was repeated. As soon as an animal was killed and the stomach removed, it was split open and wrapped like a blanket round the body of the invalid. In order to be near the slaughterhouse, the father of the young man took a room just across the avenue, and every morning for nearly 2 years, this devoted father brought his son over here and wrapped him in the rumen of a freshly killed bullock. After a few months, the paralytic began to move his hands, then his arms, and at the end of a year he could walk. Now he is entirely recovered and in perfect health. I noticed that some sprinkled a little salt into the blood before they drank it, saying it made the taste like that of warm milk. Most of the men went into the room where the animals were killed and caught the blood as it flowed in a big stream from the throat of the bullocks. But the women waited outside and spared themselves this revolting sight having blood brought to them in cups.